'Tis a fine foggy night tonight, and I doubt if anyone has ever told you of the marvelous fogs we have in Aberdeen.
Eugene.
Bakersfield.
Los Angeles.
San Francisco.
He wasn't giving me my props in Oaktown.
Portland.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles de California.
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
You gotta find your Irvine.
Irvine?
Hanford.
Eugene.
Seattle.
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 Sacramento.
Fresno.
We're going to Vancouver.
Modesto, California. San Diego.
Gino.
You know, there might be an opening for a manager in Visalia next spring.
Yakima, right?
Vallejo, California, the V.
Around the 7-minute mark, I'll start turning it into an actual introduction. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and welcome to the West Coast Sojourn podcast. I'm Donnell Alexander.
And I'm Lev Anderson.
And we're talking hoops today, whether you like it or not. We got Mike Wise, my homie from back in the day, my homie from community college and Fresno State University, where he had a column that I won't comment on the quality of it. Mike Wise is joining us to talk hoops with Lev. How into basketball are you in this moment? Are you kind of over it? Where are you?
I'm a little more into it than I was the last few years, I think. You know, once I kind of gave up on Dame time in Portland a couple of years ago, I just kind of stopped paying attention to the playoffs even. But I feel like the playoffs have been fun and physical this year, and so I've been a little more entertained, and so I've been tuned in more than usual.
Right. Now, we just came off of a series that was pretty compelling. I mean, not as compelling as it could be, but whenever New York's in it, it's a bigger deal. And we watched New York lose to the Indiana Pacers. I feel like a little bit of the air's gone out of the room since that happened. That expectation that we might have the New York finals, but we're stuck with these kids. We're stuck with these really good teams. Do you feel like your enthusiasm is remaining high for this finals?
Well, the Knicks are a pretty entertaining team. I kind of wanted to see them advance, but I'm not that disappointed. You know, we get to talk to Mike about it. We get to talk about Peter Vesey, who I only knew through his stint on Inside the NBA or whatever it was called back then, NBA on NBC. So that was kind of fun to hear about good old racist Peter Vesey.
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing. Mike is understood. We talk a little bit about Peter Vesey, and for anyone who's under 40, he was a big New York NBA sports writer. The thing is, like, when I moved to New York, I didn't know what an asshole he was. I only knew him from Inside the NBA or whatever show it was he was on.
Yeah.
But I didn't know his reputation. And when I got there and I learned that my old friend Mike had this big time beef, like I thought they might come to blows in the locker room one day kind of beef. It blew me away. But Peter Vesey is like it sounds so old timey, but there were media figures in Manhattan in the early aughts in the 90s where you could be a huge figure from newspapers alone, and Peter Vesey was just like this guy who swung his dick through the locker room, like he wide berth for this media sports star. And so it was just funny to watch my old college buddy have a really ugly rivalry. I think they were like subtweeting each other in articles and shit like that, subtweeting before Twitter was a thing. But you remember Peter Vesey.
I guess he's just kind of like the asshole white version of Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, and you know, he told a story with Stephen A. Smith in there from the finals in '99, and I was like, yeah, I was at that finals too. And I guess Stephen A. Smith was there. It's hard to believe there was a time where he was just another guy. He was just another media guy, you know. Like Stuart Scott was there, and Stuart Scott was way bigger than you know.
I ran into Stuart Scott on the street in Tampa once, and it was after his first bout with cancer.
Huh.
And he's a really nice guy. I said hello. I just wished him happy health and all that, but he was really cool about it.
Why were you in Tampa?
Film festival around Fishbone.
Okay. Yeah. You know, when he first started coming up, I think it was at that finals with Jordan. I talked to him for the first time in line because I guess he was up for his contract was up for renewal. And he had just started doing the shtick where, you know, he was, you know, he was black and contemporary on the mic. And
right. Sports Center, classic.
I told him, I appreciate what you do. And he said, yeah, I wish other people around here did as much as me. I was like, oh man, he's going through it in a way that I'm not going to go through it, because I'm not, doing that stuff as publicly as he was doing it. But I guess they paid him, so everything worked out okay for him. I wonder.
I liked our conversation with Mike. I felt like he, kind of had completed some gaps for us with the cake shout outs and the
cake is always at least a subtext of what's going on around here between Sacramento and Portland. I should explain that Mike Wise and I go back because we went to community college. I went to Sacramento City College and he went to American River, and we met on our way to a journalism conference in Fresno. We took a bus, like a yellow school bus, from Sacramento to Fresno to this place called the Hacienda. I'll include the link because I did like a actual print conversation Q&A with Mike when I first started the newsletter. But we hung out on that ride down. We were friends by the ride down and remained friends throughout. He ended up transferring to Fresno State with me, where he wrote the wise guy column that a lot of my friends thought was unreadable, but I defended Mike, and I knew there was something there to this day. But yeah, he's an awesome person to be talking sports with, and then there's the fact that he's not in the country, right?
Yeah, location to be discovered if you can keep listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, he was in Mexico City last year, so if you're thinking it's Mexico City, it's not Mexico City. It's in the ballpark, in the global ballpark of how we do things. Okay, we've got this episode coming up. It's part of our whole new podcast initiative, and the initiative being to not suck. And it's coming on the heels of a great episode with some true crime stalwarts, great storytellers. But we're going to do the sports thing now, right? Should we just jump right in?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Wise. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I just want to make sure we don't say anything we regret here.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, good. All right, so let's do it.
Okay. Welcome to the West Coast Sojourn podcast. Our guest is someone I think you're going to know the name. You may know the voice. I know him from community college, so there's that. Mike Wise, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you, Dano.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Mike. I'm excited to talk some basketball.
Lev, I'm so excited that you've taken Danelle out of the dumpster and turned him into a real media star. I did not see this coming at this late stage.
Well, Lev is going to do something that surprises you here, and that he's going to answer some questions that maybe you can't answer.
It's happened before.
Why don't Seattle Supersonics fans fuck with the Oklahoma City Thunder? What's the deal there?
But one, you probably have to go to Oklahoma City to do that now, right? Right? It's like it's sort of one of these things where I don't know. Do people? Seattle Supersonics fans are just like so wed to getting a team of their own at this point that I'm sure if the Thunder ever came there, it'd be riotous because they're so pissed that they left. But I think at this point they're just waiting. They believe that they're the next franchise that's going to be awarded by the NBA. And I think it's like Vegas, Seattle, right there, and then I don't know, Mexico City or something. Like I think Seattle's one of the top two franchises that's going to be the next franchise.
Yeah, when does the expansion happen for the NBA? Because everyone was saying, "Oh, it's going to be after the TV deal or something," right?
I would see it. I would think it's going to take a couple years. I think the rumors that'll lead up to it will start next year. I don't see Adam Silver announcing it for 2 years. I don't have any inside info on that, but I just feel like, we're going through a ratings that we're going to probably be talking about. It's going to be hard for them to justify through the networks. I just don't see the casual fan watching Oklahoma City, Indiana, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. And Lev, I want you to actually answer that question about why Seattle fans don't fuck with the Thunder. I feel like being in Portland, you might have a different perspective, but I don't want to lose sight of this thing you're bringing up because I think I disagree with you. I think people are going to turn out for the series with young superstars. But Lev, please explain why.
Well, no, I think Mike is right. I think time, has distanced them from the team. And once the team moves, I'm a diehard Blazer fan, but I can't see rooting for them if they were to move to Vegas or something, right? And so, and I think the one player, maybe they'd get attached to a player because I think Durant did play his rookie year in Seattle, and then they moved. So I could see maybe they were like Durant fans for a minute, but it's like the Brooklyn Dodgers when they moved to LA. Could you imagine a bunch of people in New York rooting for the Dodgers? I couldn't really imagine that. So there's just I think it's just when there's a move like that and as nasty as it was, I don't think there's any reason for these people to stay. I think the Blazers were hoping that they'd all become Blazer fans in terms of customers and such, but I don't know that ever really happened.
Okay. Who's buying the Blazers, by the way? Is there anybody lined up to do this? I'm curious. I think they thought they were going to get Phil Knight to do it. It's weird that there are teams up for sale.
Phil Knight. Go ahead. I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say it's a product independent of what the ratings are this fall and what the TV deal is. You want to be in business with the NBA.
Yeah, I think that. One, when are you going to see the return on your investment, depending on how much you pay? And two, Phil Knight, that's not even like looking for a buyer. That's like going on an archaeological dig at this point. The guy's he's walking out of a crypt. I don't see him being involved. I see, there's so much. There's probably 12 other people at Nike who could afford it. To me, if you're going to get back into the NBA, other than being on NBC, wouldn't Michael Jordan, since he's got his own wing there in the Air Jordan brand, to me, he would just be a shoe-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if after his Charlotte Hornets experience, right?
Yeah.
If he'd want to get back into it. I guess when Phil Knight had, he had made an offer a couple years ago, and I guess one of the minority owners of the Dodgers was part of that group. So I imagine it might be, I don't even know who that was, but somebody like that. But it's funny here in Portland because they're trying to get a Major League Baseball team, and they won't even say who's the money behind that. Supposedly there is money. So somebody said maybe Russell Wilson was involved or something, but we don't even, that's been going on for years. We don't even know who's going to do that. So Oregon doesn't have a lot of visible billionaires at the moment, it feels like.
And that's the subtext of all this. When you talk about baseball, are you talking about Major League Baseball in Portland? How many rainouts are you going to have here?
No, they'll have the roof like in Seattle. You haven't seen they bought land a half a mile from my house to build the stadium, and they've put out renderings of it, and it looks all beautiful right on the river.
It's not a
they
AAA.
got a plan, but what's that?
It's not a AAA stadium. It seems
no,
like
it's
this,
it's like a 35,000 seat
stadium.
Well, we all can't be like the Dodgers, Danelle.
You look at what's happening you see the A's are playing in West Sacramento, Mike. Have you seen that?
It's sad. It's sad. It is amazing. That Portland is, inviting a team. Seattle wants a team. Obviously, they're communities with money and billionaires and people that basically want to get into the sports team business. But God, I feel like you look at Oakland. They lost the three big revenue teams in 5 years. I can't even believe that. The Warriors, the A's, and the Raiders have been within 5 years they're gone, and it's just crazy to me. And it's sad in a way because it really was There was part of the heart of Oakland, and anybody that spent any time around the Oakland Coliseum, and both the baseball and the football stadium knows that. And to. I don't know, just to be those buildings to be vacant other than concerts is wild. I don't know, is John Canzano still the Portland Oregonian columnist? Lev?
I don't know if he still works for the Oregonian, but he has a radio show, and he's
Yeah, because he always was in the know. I feel like he would be in the know about like Portland ownership. It's a great town. I mean, Pacific Northwest, they should have a baseball team.
I think they could do it. I think they would support it. I think it's supposed to be like a 35,000 seat stadium, which they could support that.
Where are you drawing from? I mean, it's not. Are Seattle people coming here? I just
Mount Hood. They're all coming down.
Question whether there's enough people to come out for 160 or 81 dates of Major League Baseball.
I don't know. I mean, look, they sell out Major League Soccer games on the regular, and I mean, yeah, maybe that's like 15,000, the Timbers, and that's soccer. There's enough. There's like 1 million people in the Portland metro area. They could do it. I think. I mean, it's not like. I mean, look at like Tampa or these other Florida.
Buffalo supports hockey 81 times a year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So can we go back to hoops? Can we?
I didn't get that.
Yeah, sure.
Could you try again?
Sorry. What is that? I got AI. This is the thing. AI has taken over my life. Get away.
Our last guest was embracing AI to hilarious results. I can only say that I had to edit the final version of the piece to make it palatable, but AI put us in some really dicey places in terms of racial language. In terms of racialized language. Don't say Knickerbocker. Let's put it that way.
Oh, jeez.
But we are.
That term was coined by I think Peter Vesey, in the New York Post. Yeah, he wrote it in his Hoop du Jour in the '80s, and I guess back then.
What term are you talking about? What term are you talking
about? The N-word Bockers.
Oh, really? How did he do that in print?
I don't know. Like they got away with it, and he's not working anymore. But maybe it was a less enlightened time.
He was a character. They don't. You might say it differently for different reasons, but they don't make him like Peter Vesey anymore.
Oh no, he was. Yeah, he hates me. If he ever sees me, he'll kill me because I've said some things about him, and he said. But he was an original. He was like I always like a guy like that. I mean. They didn't have NBA beats. Like Mark Heisler of the LA Times didn't have a job as an NBA writer. David Leon Moore and Dow, like all these people. The NBA beat became a beat because Peter Vesey did it for the New York Post, and people started going, "Oh, wait a minute, Magic and Bird and the ratings, and let's make people NBA writers, not just covering our local teams." And so like people like I crap on him for a lot of reasons, but he was definitely a pioneer. But, a real quick story on him. There was a great story where I guess Mike Lupica, the Daily News columnist, was playing a charity game, a basketball game with Vesey. And I guess Vesey was pretty good. I never played against him. And he, at some point, Lupica kept shooting, and Vesey told him, "Man, if you don't fucking stop shooting, I'm gonna slap you." And he's like, and of course Lupica, doesn't listen to anybody, and he kept shooting, and Vesey just slapped him right in the middle of the game. And then and somebody asked him like, "Well, what did he do? What did he do when you slapped him?" And Vesey looks at the guy and he goes, "He stayed slapped." It was like, whoa, that was fucking gangster.
Now, I got to tell you, those are the glory days of NBA beat reporting. And I know, I'm going to bring it up here. Weren't you ranked the number 2 baller amongst NBA reporters? Someone compiled a list of the top 20 basketball players among NBA writers, and you got number 2, right?
This was like 20 years ago, at least 25 years ago. But think about like Rick Tellender did it in the Chicago Sun-Times, and he did it during the NBA Finals. Can you imagine if you're like a fan of NBA basketball and you were picking up and there was an all-star sheet during the NBA Finals about the writers? But, here's the great one of that. Like, I got on the first team, but there was Jerry Bembry, I think, was second team or something. Stephen A. Smith got like honorable mention, and he's yelling across the United Center press room in Chicago, going, "How do you put me on the third team? How do you put me on that?" And and everybody's like, "'Cause you won't pass," and it was just freaking. You couldn't make it up.
Well, that's what I learned, because you've always been a nice guy, Mike Wise. We went to college and all that, but I learned about your bastard reputation from basketball. So.
That was the dick part of me. I was the quintessential good guy until until you like elbowed me in the throat or something. Then I was the worst dick of all.
Is that in the newsroom or on the court?
Yeah, in newsroom I was a pretty good teammate. On the basketball, I just got to the point where I was no good anymore, and like I had 3 words that came out of my mouth every time someone touched me. I got it. Like they're just like every time they're going, "You call a foul every time." And I'm like, "I got it. You hit me. I swear to God, you did." It was really, it's pickup basketball. But when you get older, oh my God. You know why they don't have NBA Legends games? Because those guys, they don't want to be seen like that.
Yeah. And they've got more mileage even than you,
That's true.
I want to ask, we'll talk about, we should talk about it. I think when you have 2 young stars in this contemporary market where people play fantasy sports and they get their favorite players because they do their video games and they choose their own teams, that generation's grown up. I feel like there's less adherence to local followings. Obviously, when you have New York and LA in the finals, that's great. But I think people are actually going to turn out to see Halliburton and SGA. What do you think about that, Lev?
I do think that the idea that a superstar or a big market is necessary for the finals to get the viewership that's overstated to some degree, but at the same time, I don't really know. I don't really know what goes into the fair weather fan viewer, the more casual NBA fan. I would say gambling is definitely, more prevalent, right? So that's another part of it besides just the fantasy aspect. I don't really know what to expect, to be honest. I would think it's not that big of a deal, but who knows,
I mean, look, I guess what I would say is if LA or New York or Boston shows up, you're always going to get better ratings just because they have larger, longer fan bases that go back decades. And if you're a league, you hope for that. But I think, to your point, Danelle, we're in a world now where Tyrese Halliburton, this will be the first time that people see him on a final stage. Man, he is a freaking exciting player. If I was the Sacramento Kings and I was a fan, I would be puking every morning realizing that they gave him up in a trade, and that here was a guy who, all NBA now, and he and SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, are the last guy standing at the end of the season. And so I think that, but I think also you need a compelling series too, like a couple good games and people are watching. If it's blowout OKC, and then Indy gets 1 game at home and it's 3-1, I don't think anybody watches. But I think Halliburton is a special, just watching him play, see his hang time near the rim. It's just crazy, some of the shots he makes. I think there's a genuine interest if you're just a basketball person and as a casual fan, it's the finals. But yeah, Indiana OKC, man, that's a tough sell.
I will go on record. I told Danelle that the Pacers would beat the Knicks, and I'm going to say that.
Nice call.
I'm going to say that the Pacers will win game 1, but I don't know if they'll win any other games. I think they'll surprise Oklahoma City because I think the Knicks are tougher out than Minnesota Timberwolves. So, OKC will have to kind of adjust to a different kind of opponent and stuff. Whereas I think Indiana, they played a really tough series. I thought Minnesota, I think Chris Finch should be fired. I felt like they were so unorganized on offense that, they didn't really have much of a chance in that series. But I think Indiana will win the first game, but they might not win after that.
It's actually a pretty good take. And if we have any bettors out there, take that to the bank. I mean, just clean up in that first game and then watch the rest.
Wow. If I could just go back a little bit to that New York series, New York Pacers series,
Yeah.
how much does that first loss loom large? I mean, the Knicks were bringing that home. They'd be playing Game 7 tonight, at home if they had just held up at the end of it. Do you think the Knicks are cursed? Does the whole idea of the Knicks being cursed go away because they put up a good front this time?
Yeah, I don't buy the whole curse stuff, but because it's like I only think a team is cursed if it's the same group of players and they keep losing. Like the Red Sox genuinely, like, for a few years they kept losing crazy series. It was the same group of players. And then they got a couple different guys, Dustin Pedroia, and all of a sudden they win. But I don't, I think um, I think they weren't. I think they were. I think it was a big deal that they went to the conference finals. But once they got there, it was such a golden opportunity. With Tatum was hurt. I still think they win that series because they'd already won that game almost. But I still think that win that series. But when Cleveland gets knocked out, everybody thought it was going to be Cleveland and OKC, and now you have a golden opportunity. And Indiana's good, but they're not that. They're not world beaters. And so you have and you almost have to win 5 games in the series once you lose game 1 because you basically won that game. And so I think on that level, it's one of those things where, wow, I can't believe we got this far, and we fucked up at the end because we had it on our platter. We had home court advantage. We were a favorite in the series. We should have went to the finals. Maybe we would have got blown out by but who cares? We would have got there. And I think that everybody's calling for Tibbs's job. I don't know if he loses his job over because he's taken them farther than they have in 25 years. But yeah, I was rooting for him. I really wanted to see him win, and not just because I used to cover him a long time ago, but you have a lot of friends from New York that are Knicks fans, and you're just kind of going, oh God. And Brunson is such a compelling player. I mean, that to me is one of the great stories. I think we're used to it now because we've seen him so much, but if you had told me of all the players that I'd covered in the 90s, I didn't really cover Greg Anthony. Kind of, I came after him, but Greg Anthony, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Anthony, all these guys had kids and they would play on the side, at SUNY Purchase at the college where they trained in the 90s, and you would always go, Starks is shooting again, little Johnny Starks and Patrick Ewing Jr. And then to think that frickin' Rick Brunson's kid would be one of the all-time great franchise players. Rick Brunson was a knucklehead when I was there.
Yeah, we had this conversation with one of my other guests, writer R.K. Byers, where we saw him play in a minor league. I don't know if it's the CBA or NBL, and I don't remember which one it was, but he took on the rapper Master P. Master P was trying to. I don't know if you remember that, Mike.
He was in a couple celebrity All-Star games.
Right, but Rick Brunson ate him alive and demonstrated the gap between like a last man on the bench NBA player and a wannabe. It was something to watch because he just cooked him, and nobody thought Rick Brunson was shit. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I found out the hard way when, I bet Herb Williams, stiff of all stiffs, center, backup third man center, in a shooting contest. And next thing I know, I'm down $80 and, I'm just leaving the court in embarrassment.
So who do you have finally? We know who Lev has. Who do you have in this final?
Well, I just got Indiana in the first game. I don't know.
Okay, so who's winning? Who's winning the series?
I just think OKC because they're some super team, but they have 8 guys who can defend. I mean, there's 8 guys who can get out on you and take the ball or disrupt the passing lane. And I just think that for all their offensive fireworks and SGA 30 a game, I just think that they're the way they contest at the rim, the way they body up guys, the way they get in everybody's grill. It's. I mean, I know we're in a Steph Curry, chuck from the parking lot league now, but there's something about these playoffs that was really tough and gritty, and people got in each other's face for the first time in a long time, and fouls. Refs could have called fouls almost on every possession in some of these series, and so I just think Oklahoma City Sam Presti has finally built a team that is just perfect for this time of year. It's deep. It's got a lot of long arms, and it's got a couple big time scores. And I think Jalen Williams to me is like, if you put him on 5 different teams, they would have won the title. Like, that's how invaluable a second banana kind of guy he is. He's like, he could be a star on any one of those teams.
Pippen-esque? Is that where he is?
One thing that really impressed me about Oklahoma City is with their defense is just how Minnesota was starting their offense at half court and like would have a hard time getting past the 3-point line. On half their possessions, it felt like they just pressed them so hard that they were like pushed out like 40 feet from the rim. And then, if Anthony Edwards couldn't find a lane to drive, they just seemed like they were kind of hopeless.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I didn't expect that series to go that. I mean, I thought Oklahoma City would win. I didn't think they'd win in 5 games. Yeah. And maybe Chris Finch should you have a very talented team there. Like, I think Naz Reid is really the only really big time free agent. And like how you don't at least take them to 6 or 7 games after you were in the conference finals a year before against Dallas. That they clearly went backwards. But yeah, you have all these guys now, like they look like world beaters for like 2 quarters, and then you don't know what happened to them. Like Julius Randle, he's like, he'll have 2 good games, and you'll go, this guy is special, and then he'll just fall off the map for the next 3, and you go, oh boy. So,
yeah, I felt like Minnesota was like they were never greater than some of their parts. Like they were parts, they look like disorganized parts. And then. I think Indiana's hope is that Rick Carlisle's a better coach, and he might figure out a way to make OKC pay for that pressure D.
Okay.
Excuse me.
The great thing is we can always cut that. Listen.
Yeah, cut this too.
You're where? Are you comfortable saying where you are?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Why are you there? Where were you? This is
where am I?
It's leading up to.
Where am I in the world right now?
Yeah.
I'm in Panama City, Panama.
Why?
I can't get back. I can't get back to the U.S. I've been deported. No, I don't. But I'm here. I'm here because my wife has a big time government job, and I got a book contract. And I'm not tied to a media organization where I don't have to be in office or go to a game. And so that's it. And I'm basically daddy daycare, which, as anybody who's got kids knows, it's an important job. It's not high paying, but it's important.
No, when I was writing my first book, I was at home a lot, and it was the best time. I mean, I complained about being interrupted, but I was happily interrupted. You're writing the Billy Mills book there, right?
Correct. A biography on the last Native American to win a gold medal. He was, Lev, I'm sure knows the name Steve Prefontaine, and it's like the 50 years anniversary of his death. The guy died at 24. He was like this incredible distance runner, and he wasn't just a distance runner. He went up against the AAU at a time when nobody went up against the AAU and said, like, why are you taking our money? Why are you organizing these competitions? We should be paid. And the guy died in a car accident. He's like, he's like the Jim Morrison of track or something, where people just like, he even though he finished fourth or 5th at the Olympics, when he went out really fast, they thought, he would win a gold or something. And it is a little, it tells you a lot about our media that Billy Mills, who's like came out of nowhere to win the 10,000 meters in 64s. Sort of native people know him, but a lot of people don't know him. And so I'm hoping it'll be the next Seabiscuit. unfortunately it'll have my name on it and not Laura Hillenbrand's. But yeah, but it's a good biography. I'm really excited about it because I spent a lot of time on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, and I even went back to Sacramento where Billy and his wife live now, and you know, and tied up some loose ends with some anecdotes and stories. And yeah, so I don't know, I feel like I'm circling the runway, and I think I'm going to get a 2026 release.
Okay. I've got a friend who has a big book. Who's the guy that the Olympics czar from? Why can't I think of his name? You know, from the heyday of the Olympics, the guy from the 20th century. What's that?
Was it Pete Wilson?
No, I'm talking about mid 20th century, Jesse Owens era guy. I'm blanking.
Oh,
on
you're talking about an athlete.
Carl Lewis?
No, the Olympic czar. The
Olympic czar, like the guy who wrote the Olympics, or he was head of the Olympics.
He was head of the Olympics. I'm going to look this up.
Oh, so it was it Solomon? Was Jose Suleiman?
No, he's an American.
Or Baron von Munchen. I don't know. When was he the Olympic czar?
It's so bad that I can't think of his name. He's one of the most important figures in sports history, and there's never been a bio on him. And maybe
Avery Brundage.
Avery Brundage. Thank you very much. He's doing an Avery Brundage book that's due in 2027, and I've been watching that over the years. You know, I'm thinking that's really far. That's a far off deadline. But when you look at the volume of material, well, maybe not so much. And you said yours is 2026, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, some of these books, I probably could have got it done 2 years ago, but I also think that, you know, if you got a story evergreen, why not just do it right? And, you know, and I obviously want it to sell like crazy, but I want it to be good too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the question I was getting at, and I don't know if you have anything to add here, Love, but
yeah.
How good is it to not be in D.C. right now? I have a lot of questions about that because I understand like housing prices are through the roof because everyone wants to be physically close to the president. But I imagine culturally that might be a little bit of a nightmare. You were last time I saw you was in Maryland and Chevy Chase, right?
Yeah, you stayed at my house, which I still own, and my wife and I still own, and we rented out to a family from the Australian embassy, and. The nice part about it is our mortgage is paid, and yeah, I mean, we left I went to Mexico City. She got a posting in 2021, and I didn't think we would move again. I think we'd be back by now, and we left like 6 months after January 6th, and I remember January 6th. You know, I was 20 minutes away, you know, or maybe 30 minutes away with traffic, and you're watching that on TV and going, shit, that's in my backyard. And there's a toxicity now all over the country, but, you know, in different nooks and crannies, depending on where you are. But I think it's tenfold there in some ways because you got people with actual power now that you didn't think would be in power. And you know, it's depending on where you fall on the political spectrum. I mean, it's a nightmare or it's Shangri-La. And for Caroline Levitt, who's the White House press secretary, I call her legally dumb blonde. It's probably Shangri-La, but you know, it's a weird place. And you know what? There was a guy at a high school in Montgomery County where my kids would have went to school that had threatened shooting up this one high school. It was a very good school, so much that they actually gave him 10 years, even though he never shot anybody or anything. But the fact that your kids could go to school, like I don't deal with that in Panama. I don't have to deal with it in Mexico City. Like I don't have to worry about my kids going to school and not coming home because they were shot by a classmate.
Valid. How tall is your kid at this point?
He's 6'1", and I don't think he's biologically mine because he's really good. And I think my wife had an affair with somebody that was a good basketball player because she is like, I mean, no, he's 14, and he's like only weighs about 130 pounds, but they like had him scrimmage against the under-17 Panamanian national team, and there were some big guys, and he had like this little double clutch layup under two guys, and I don't know if like the gym was going crazy because he was the only white dude or what, like we were like the token white people there, but he just played, and he played smart, and he played fun, and he loves it. I obviously think he needs to get back to the States to play in a real program and go up against kids from the States to play somewhere good. But even if he doesn't play, even if he plays Division III or NAIA, or he just plays high school, I think it's cool that he likes the game. And we'll have something in common the next 20 years.
Maybe you'll have to rule out Mr. Brunson Sr.,
Oh yeah, as being the
Rick
scrub
Brunson.
whose kid made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Like it just goes to show you like you just don't know. I mean he's like I'm 6'4"? That guy Brunson is like 6'1.5", if that. And he's just like a little fire hydrant, and he's like his balance, his footwork. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by it.
I know he's smaller than Luka, but I look at them in the same way. They're not. Their bodies are a part of the game, but that's not their strength. It's their vision.
Yeah.
And obviously their boldness, but yeah. That's why I stay a Lakers fan. I think even they're kind of locked into a difficult place, but they're going to play the most intellectually smart basketball you've seen in a long time with them. These people who see the court so well with LeBron and all that. No defense will be played at all, to be clear. but offensively, they're going to be fun to watch.
I feel like the Lakers need one like rim protector, big guy.
Who is that?
And like they're right there.
Who is that?
Mitchell Robinson?
Yeah, kind of like a Mitchell Robinson or a Daniel Gafford type, like where you guy like you could throw him alley-oops. He doesn't have to take 10 shots a game, but he's going to get you 10 points somehow. And like I don't know where he comes from. I don't know who's Jonathan Kuminga. Like that would be a great. But he's a free agent, but I don't know if you can afford him. But somebody that just like gives them some presence down low, because LeBron's got a year left. I don't see him playing more than a year.
Can I bring that back though? Because I think that isn't LeBron in line to become one of the owners of like the Las Vegas franchise? We keep talking about Seattle and all that, but I was thinking he's going to retire. He's going to get a big share, if not the majority share, of the Vegas franchise, and that's how his career is going to transition. Nobody's buying that.
I could see that.
Okay.
LeBron's like Shaq. He's just got money to burn. So why not? If you still have the basketball Jones in you, and he's so. I mean, shoot, he was a coach on the floor for so many years. I think that might be a good landing spot for him.
Right, but Lev, how are the people of the Pacific Northwest going to accept that? This team doesn't come back to Seattle.
No, I think Mike's right. I mean, I think everybody's kind of expecting that Seattle's going to get a team, and if Vegas gets a team, then like Oklahoma City or Memphis moves to the Eastern Conference? Is that how it works to balance out the conferences or something?
I don't know, or you just contract about 3 teams and give an expansion to somebody. Like there's some bad teams out there.
Who would you contract? Well, before we go out here, the top 3.
I mean, just people. Top 3 contractions. I think.
Lev has time.
I'd be the Hornets, because they just don't. They don't engender anything but mediocrity and like a player every now and then. They just haven't been anywhere forever. Well, I don't want to say Brooklyn because they can't. It's too big a market. If they were in New Jersey, it'd be one thing. I would say
New Orleans.
Yeah, the Pelicans. Yeah, Zion. Like you can't save them. He can't. He's not the savior. And everybody who ends up there ends up going someplace else. Chris Paul.
So we don't want to cut 3 teams. Clearly, we only want to cut 2.
Yeah, you can't really. I don't think you can. I mean, the worst team in the West is the Blazers, and that's such a stable market. Or the West. The worst team in the West is the Jazz right now. But But even when the Blazers suck, like they still have a long season ticket line, and people want to, people are just waiting for them to be good again. Utah the same way. I think New Orleans and Charlotte would be the two that I would think of moving.
Yeah, well, we're all getting ahead of ourselves. So listen, we're going to wrap it up. I just want to make sure we know we're going to include the Sacktown article where you actually go visit Billy Mills.
Oh, nice!
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I wrote
that was
for the
awesome.
inaugural issue. You know who I wrote about for Sacktown magazine? I wrote about Ron Artest, the artist formerly known as Ron Artest. There, he was so frank. He was so frank.
Yeah.
They took it down. It was a very.
Oh wow!
But it was fun.
I told them I would do some other stories for them, but they'd have to be like. But they're very clear. The Sacktown magazine, really smart people. They used to be in New York. You actually should do something for them because you're so connected.
I love that though. They're really smart people. They used to be in New York. That's general implication about intelligence in this country. He used to be in New York. He's a good one. Please go on.
But they have some good people at the Sacramento Bee. It's just like they don't have any resources anymore. No. But yeah, Lev, you were in the music industry, right?
Well, I co-produced a music documentary.
That's where I remember.
Yeah.
Lev is from the world of urban planning, but he got lost.
Well, that's where I started, urban planning, and then I went into documentary film work, and I did a documentary about the band Fishbone. And,
yeah.
So that was, and then I decided I didn't want to do any more music documentaries because it's such a pain in the ass to get these people to stick to any kind of schedule or anything like that. But
he's doing a thing with us now that's going to be really good. We can't speak on it, but it's a great documentary project.
Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah,
it's cake. No, just kidding.
That guy. He'll be up next in conversation.
John.
Yeah, John. I always think of you and John and the Sacramento homies, and he actually lives up here in Portland now, and.
You know my cake story, right?
No, I don't.
You want to hear it real quick or no?
I do, please.
Okay. I mean, he's so going through the worst time in my life. My mom had just died, unexpectedly. Dog of 18 years had died. The Sacramento Union almost was out of business. And no one was hiring me. It's like 94. And I would start going and I would see these guys, and I didn't know who they were, what they were doing, and I would see him in like the Fox and Goose. Remember the Fox and Goose, like a little tiny place in Sacramento, and between one set, I was like, they just kind of gave me like, I don't know, they gave me some hope at a time when I was really, my life was a bad country song, and I literally walked up to, it was John, in between sets, and I walked up to him, I go, you guys are really good. Do you have an agent? And he's like, no, man. He goes, are you an agent? And I'm like, no, I just work at the Sacramento Union. I cover high school sports. And he goes, oh, damn. And he goes, well, you want to buy a cassette? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Dude, he takes a cassette, like, not a CD, a cassette out of his guitar case. And he goes, $4. And I go, $4? And I go, why $4? And he goes, 4 songs, man, $4. And it was like, I Bombed Korea, Rock and Roll Lifestyle. I can't remember the other 2, but it was like, oh my God. And I still had that cassette. And I thought oh, this is some cheesy band. They're going nowhere. And then, and so my life changes. I get this job out of the blue at the New York Times. A year later, I'm in Chicago covering the Bulls and Knicks, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the New York Times guy, up here, Sacramento Union, and you're folded, and I see Cake is playing at the Cubby Bear in Chicago, and I'm like, oh man, and so I got all the writers to go. Wouldn't you know it? We got there just as the last set was ending, but one of the guitarists, oh God, what was it? Greg something.
Greg Brown.
Greg Brown, nicest guy. He's like, I go, dude, I go, I can't believe this. You guys made it to the Cubby Bear. And he goes, yeah, dude, we got discovered at Austin's, music festival, and Capricorn Records gave us this deal, man. And I go, dude, that's so awesome. He goes, you came here just to see us? And I go, well, no, I was kind of working at this job, and I just came. Oh, okay. He goes, like, you want a guitar pick? And I'm like, yeah. And so just like, I don't know, like just to see them become what they became was really reaffirming.
Well, no,
and I still have that freaking cassette.
But do you have the guitar pick? I have
no.
I have a similar relationship to Pavement. I love Cake, but I know John, so it's not the same. But Pavement, there's a big documentary, like a big celebrated film documentary coming out, and it's reminded me like my great Pavement experience. They played Duffy's Tavern in Chico, and it was just a bar, and it was fucking Pavement. They went ape shit. It's like one of the 5 best shows of my life, and you never forget when your local band tears it up. And I feel like Pavement is, I'm gonna say this, go out on a limb, greatest band in Central Valley history. Pavement. I'm gonna put them ahead of Cake in that category.
I'm gonna Google Pavement right now.
Okay.
Just to see what hallucinogenics you were on though.
They're very surreal and amazing. They're one of the great post-punk bands of the 20th century, I would say. We should wrap this up. Do you have any observations about this whole thing here, Lev? Are you just?
Well, I wonder if Mike has anything to play that cassette tape through. And
yeah, I had a boombox, but I don't know if it works anymore.
When Pavement, I mean, what's his name? The front man.
Stephen Malcolm?
Yeah, Steve Malcolmus. Isn't he from Virginia though?
I think it's like a bi-coastal band in that sense, but it started.
They kind of came out of Stockton or something.
There's a big documentary, Pavements, that's out, and it's very celebrated, big time director. But there's a smaller documentary on the drummer who really kind of showed them how to be a rock band. But he was a raging alcoholic, just a fucking mess. And there's a little documentary on him that's very Stockton specific. You ever Stockton specific, not Pacific, Stockton. University of Pacific is in Stockton, but that's not what I'm talking about. And have you ever seen
Stockton specific?
Yeah. You ever see Fat City? With it's young Jeff Bridges and Stacy Keach, but it's the last last great film of one of the great directors. I can't remember his name, but anyway, it's Stockton in the 70s, like 1970, and it's super poor, and it's really a great movie. I would say the best piece of art related to Stockton until we got to this bi-coastal band, Pavement, which the first album, Slanted and Enchanted, that's the one you should check out. You know, the rest of it's not as accessible. Mike, anything you want to say on the way out of here?
No, I just thanks for having me on, Lev. Good to meet you via Zoom, and yeah, I'm a subscriber to Sojourner, and I think everybody else should be.
Cool. And you did we get your calls? Did you guys say specifically like how many games this is gonna end in? Do you?
I think it's only going to be 5. I think Indiana's going to win 1 game. It could be the first game. It could be one of the games over there. I think it'll end in 5 games. I'm a big believer in the Thunder.
I'll be different. I'll say OKC wins in 6.
Okay.
That's not that different. I just want to see the stars come out. I'm ready for a new generation of NBA stars. You know, these guys are all like right there. Halliburton almost wants it too much for me. I feel like he could be a good villain. He could be like our generation.
He's fun, but he's fun though. Like Reggie Miller was a great villain, but he was kind of like Reggie was like Jordan. He was a dick. That's who he was. Like Halliburton just seems like a dude, like he's having fun winning. He's obviously wants to win it all, but he just seems like a decent human being. Reggie would just cut your ear off if he was in an elevator with you and there's food and he was the only, he wouldn't share it.
All right. I'm gonna say goodbye, man. Thanks for coming through. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you. Good to catch up.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. See you, Lev.
Enjoy Panama.
Thank you.